The baby was adorable, wasn't it? I can't believe you had the nerve to say that. I know everything. You both think I'm clueless, laughing carelessly, but I'm about to show you a grim reality. I understand that a newborn life is innocent, so I feel sorry for the baby. But I hated you two even more. I know you both have been deceiving me. You'll learn that angering me is a terrible mistake. My name is Roseanne. I married Lewis, who I met through business at my company 3 years ago. Our first encounter was 5 years ago, just a passing moment at his company, with no further interaction. However, it turned out we lived nearby, and we bumped into each other again. We had tea, got along well, and started dating. After a year and a half, we married 3 years ago. I work at a company my dad founded. Since graduating from college, I've been working there, known as the boss's daughter. This label has kept others at a distance from me. But Lewis didn't seem to care about that and was very friendly. Just being treated that way made me feel really comfortable around him. By marrying me, Lewis is set to become the next president of the company. He's been working hard at his current company since graduating from college. He's a charming and competent person, as I observed from his interactions with his coworkers. Though he's not of age yet to take over, the plan is for him to work until he's 40 and then become the next president. Also, considering my age, I wanted to start preconception care right after our marriage. But Lewis was often busy with work, coming home late at night. On days he wasn't busy, he'd go straight to bed, too tired. I couldn't impose on Lewis, who was working hard. And before I knew it, 3 years had passed, and I was 37 years old. One day, my best friend Alice called me out, and we met at a nearby cafe. Alice and I have been close since we were 13, always sharing news and consulting each other on problems. She saw me not just as the boss's daughter, but as a person. It's been a while. What's up? It's been a while. I have something to tell you today. What? Are you getting married? Actually, I'm pregnant. 6 months now. I was shocked. I hadn't even heard she had a boyfriend. And now this? But now that I think about it, her belly did seem a bit fuller last time I saw her. So that's what it was. Is it a marriage after the baby's arrival? No, I can't marry the father due to some circumstances. Oh, I see. But congratulations anyway. Thank you. Alice looked downcast. She must be feeling anxious. I didn't know what her situation was, but I was ready to do anything I could to help. Alice had always been there for me. After every breakup, she was the one to comfort me. I think I made it this far because of Alice. Alice, if there's anything I can do, just tell me. It's my turn to support you now. Thanks, but I'm okay for now. Do you have any troubles, Roseanne? No, I'm fine. I wanted to talk about wanting a child, but the atmosphere didn't feel right, so I didn't. But what happened next would drastically change my life. When I got home, I told Lewis, who was off work and at home, about Alice. Since the three of us often hung out together, Lewis knew Alice well. Alice is pregnant. Is that so? Lewis didn't seem very surprised. It was as if he wasn't much interested in the news. But she can't marry the father because of some issues. I didn't get the details, but I told her to ask me for anything she needs. I wonder if she'll be alright. She'll be fine. The father will probably provide financial support, right? I hope so. But if he doesn't acknowledge the baby and she plans to raise it alone, it's going to be tough financially. I was genuinely worried about Alice, but Lewis's response was too nonchalant. If Alice has decided that, there's nothing you can do. It's her decision to make. That's true, but I want to start thinking about having our own child soon. Let's talk about that some other time. Why do you always avoid the topic of children like this? He showed little interest in Alice's situation and always evaded the conversation about children. Moreover, I'll be home late, so don't wait up for dinner, Lewis would suddenly say. When I asked him to tell me these things earlier, he'd get angry and say, I'm busy, unlike you, and I couldn't say anything more. Indeed, I've been leaving work on time lately, without any overtime, but I don't like the implication that working overtime is somehow more commendable. I just managed to finish all my tasks within the allotted time. Of course, in today's world, there are companies where working overtime is the norm, and I'm not condemning overtime itself, but I never had to do so much overtime before we got married. And being treated this way is really stressful. Lewis, being a man, probably doesn't worry about age, but I'm already 37, you know. If we don't start preconception care soon, it might be too late to have children, right? Lewis spends his days off either relaxing at home or going out alone. It feels like he's deliberately avoiding spending time with me, which only adds to my stress and frustration. That day, too, Lewis had left early without saying where he was going or when he'd be back. Sometimes I wonder if there's any point in us living together, but I've gotten used to such things. Today, a bit early maybe, I decided to pick out a baby shower gift for Alice and reached for my phone. Oh no, it's not charged. Darn it. With no other option, I opened Lewis's laptop. The password was his birthday, I remember. With that, the lock opened, but what I saw on the screen made me doubt my eyes. Shall we go to a shop in the next county today? They have cute baby stuff. It was a send messages screen, and the first message I saw was from Alice. Maybe Lewis had known about it all along and went shopping with her today. But then why didn't he tell me anything? With a sinking feeling, I scrolled through Alice and Lewis's send messages history. My fears were confirmed. I was feeling sick and went to the doctor. Turns out I'm pregnant. Remember when we met 2 months ago? I think it's from then. Really? It's my child? I'm so happy. Lewis wouldn't engage in preconception care with me, but he was having an affair with Alice and even fathered a child. Roseanne won't suspect anything, will she? She's clueless, lol. These were the previous messages. Reading further, it appeared that Lewis was meeting Alice on the nights he claimed to be working late. I checked Lewis's bank account and payslips. It became clear why he stubbornly refused to show me his payslips or bank account. He wasn't working overtime at all. If I noticed a lack of overtime pay, I would have gotten suspicious, so he kept them hidden. We have an arrangement where we pay for personal expenses individually, and we split the living expenses. Neither of us knew exactly how much the other was earning. This was the first time I saw Lewis's salary. It was significantly lower than mine. 35 years old, a college graduate, and this is his salary? I was shocked, not just by the surprisingly low salary, but also because almost the entire amount was being withdrawn every month. It seems likely that Lewis has no savings left, probably using it all for Alice's childbirth expenses. There's no way he'd consider preconception care with me. Not just financially, but because it's clear he sees Alice, not me, as his partner. He says, "Once I become president, I'll lavish Alice and the baby with luxury. So just wait a bit longer. A child with Alice is bound to be adorable." Yeah, that's the situation. He married me just to become president and for the money. Thinking back, he was incredibly devoted until we got married. Even in his proposal, in front of a castle in a dreamy setting, was so romantic. But as soon as we got married, he became cold and stopped going out with me. Seeing their exchange, I was furious. I'd been deceived by both of them. And Alice, she even had the nerve to report her pregnancy with Lewis's child. Did they think I'd never find out? If so, they underestimated me. Well, I hadn't noticed anything until I saw the send messages. I decided to gather evidence, so I hid a small voice recorder in Lewis's bag. Oblivious, Lewis left the house silently again. I knew from their send messages that he was meeting Alice today. I had set up the send messages app on my phone with Lewis's account, allowing me to see every exchange between him and Alice. It felt like stalking, but I needed evidence for what was to come. While Lewis was changing, I set the recorder in his bag to record, and he unknowingly took it with him to meet Alice. When he returned, I secretly retrieved the recorder, but the content recorded was beyond my imagination. The conversation started off innocuous, but what followed was unbelievable. "Can't believe Alice was the one stealing all your girlfriends." "What?" "That's right. But my aim was just to take them, so I dumped them right after. Why did you do that? Consoling a heartbroken Roseanne made me feel fulfilled. I felt like I was doing something good. What's that supposed to mean? Was Alice stealing my boyfriends just to fulfill her own heart? Their conversation, laughing and chatting, filled me with rage. Louis, you're not planning to have a child with Roseanne. No way. I'm not interested in her at all. I just used her to become president. My type is you. If Roseanne hears this, we're in trouble. I stopped the voice recorder after hearing all this. I was so angry I almost smashed the recorder. Alice had been deceiving me all along. She comforted me when my boyfriends broke up with me, using me to satisfy her own ego. I can't forgive Louis or Alice. Louis, a liar who used our marriage to become president. And Alice, who I thought was my best friend, stealing my boyfriends, one after another, and eventually even my husband, to have a child. I won't let these two get their hands on my dad's company or its money. From that day, I decided to thoroughly gather evidence of their affair. I screenshot and copied all the send messages and hired a detective. Someone I knew, but hadn't fully trusted in detective matters. However, they turned out to be quite capable, gathering a lot of information. As expected, on the days Louis claimed to work late, he was mostly visiting Alice. The photos showed them walking together like a couple, Louis caressing Alice's belly, seemingly eagerly awaiting the baby's arrival. Seeing this, my determination to make them pay began to waver, and sadness welled up inside me. This should have been me and Louis, but I couldn't let my resolve falter now. It was all for protecting my dad's company and for my revenge. However, the child in Alice's belly was innocent. At the very least, I didn't want to involve the unborn child in this turmoil. That was the only thing troubling my conscience. 4 months passed since then. Send messages, voice recordings, photographs, with all the evidence in hand, making their excuses impossible. I received a message from Alice. She was in the hospital, and it was her due date. It seems like labor has started. I'll let you know once the baby is born. Wish me luck. Good luck. I'll come to the hospital when you contact me. With your baby's father. The next day, Alice informed me the baby was born. She endured 5 hours of labor. Alice's baby is born. Shall we go see? You're acting calm, but you're excited, aren't you? I know you were sending joyful send messages just now. Holding all the evidence, I went to the hospital with Louis. We visited the newborn room and saw Alice's baby. Adorable, but I couldn't dare say it aloud. This child was born from those two, a testament to their infidelity. Then, returning to Alice's room, she was waiting with a beaming smile. The baby was cute, right? Louis nodded with a smile, turning to me as if seeking arrangement. The baby was adorable. No, it was as ugly as you. What? As they stood there dumbfounded, I was ready to begin my revenge. Hey, that's rude. And what do you mean it looks like me? Roseanne, what's wrong? You thought I knew nothing? You think I'd say something so awful just on a hunch or speculation? As I spoke calmly, their faces tensed slightly. What do you think you know? Alice tried to maintain her composure, but Louis clearly started to get nervous. First, here's a picture of you two walking closely together like a couple at a baby store in the next county. I presented the photographs one after the other, as if I was showcasing items in a home shopping program. Next, we have the send messages exchanges you two made a point of having. I placed the copies of the send messages on the table. You used my computer without permission? My phone was out of power and I just wanted to borrow it for a moment to look for a gift for Alice's baby. Then your send messages with Alice popped up as soon as I opened it. Alice showed a look of disbelief that Louis had left the send messages screen so carelessly open. Did you think I wouldn't see it? Everything was left open, so I took the liberty of viewing it and copying it all. This is ridiculous! Predictably, Louis tore the send messages copies on the table into pieces. Hey, if you do that, unfortunately for you, I've also saved these send messages as data, so tearing them up is pointless. Plus, I have voice recordings from when you two went out. I wish I hadn't heard them. Of course, I had backups of everything safely copied onto my computer. I'm sorry. It was just one time. And then I got pregnant. One time? That's not possible, right? These send messages suggest at least 5 encounters before the pregnancy. And I played the voice recording. Hey, do you think we can make a second one even while you're pregnant? Stop it. Can I go to Alice's place after this? Sure. I pressed the stop button on the playback. What's the meaning of this? Alice's expression was clearly strained. Alice, I always thought of you as one of my few close friends, but after hearing the conversations recorded on this, I realized you were just using me to satisfy your ego. I never imagined you'd been stealing all my boyfriends. Wait, there's a reason for that. I was being harassed, and they ordered me to steal Roseanne's boyfriends. Such an obvious lie. I couldn't believe it. Can you still say that after hearing this? I played Alice's voice from the recorder, gleefully talking about stealing boyfriends to satisfy her self-esteem. You heard that too? Pretty much all your conversations from the past 4 months are recorded. Wait, that's eavesdropping, right? Eavesdropping evidence isn't admissible, is it? Lewis said this smugly. You know, as long as the recording wasn't obtained by illegally installing devices in someone's house without their consent, or by threatening them, it's perfectly valid evidence. So that's it? Lewis always misses these details. The two were at a loss. Now that I've presented irrefutable evidence, it's time to demand compensation. This will mark the beginning of hard times for them, as the amount they owe is something they can't pay without working hard. Now that you see all the evidence, you understand, right? You'll have to pay the compensation in full. Wait, I just had a baby. I can't afford to pay compensation. Alice panicked first. I expected this reaction, knowing she had just given birth and would have childbirth expenses and upcoming child costs. Then you'll have to leave the baby with your parents and work, won't you? That's impossible. Well, telling your parents that the baby is the result of an affair with your best friend's husband, and you need to pay her compensation? I wonder if they'll agree to take care of the child without question. With that, Alice turned to Lewis, probably hoping he would cover the repayments for a while. Just so you know, relying on Lewis's salary is futile. His pay doesn't even reach $2,000. Alice's eyes widened in shock, as if hearing this for the first time. What? You said you make over $3,000 a month, and more with overtime. Alice confronted Lewis. Lewis started to act nervously. It was just a bluff. When we started dating, I asked a coworker in my department to talk me up as some kind of company elite, but it was all a lie. I placed Lewis's payslip on the table. The payslip revealed that he was just a company underperformer, always making mistakes and still requiring his boss to check his work. And you're still lying, aren't you? I said, looking at Lewis. I told you, I've been working at this company since college graduation. But the truth is, I only have a high school diploma, and I joined the company just before meeting Roseanne. I've been job hopping a lot because I get bored easily. As Lewis confessed, Alice's anger seemed to rise. Wait, everything you said is different. You told me you were saving money. How are we supposed to live on less than $2,000 a month? I didn't expect it to be revealed. I thought I'd figure it out after becoming president. I was speechless at their absurdity. After Alice made a scene, I spoke again once she calmed down. Anyway, I'm divorcing Lewis, and of course, there's no chance of him becoming president. The thought of entrusting my dad's company to someone so incompetent is terrifying. I'm glad I realized this early. I'm going to meet my lawyer now to discuss the compensation claims and the divorce procedures. Wait, I'm sorry. I'll change. Please forgive me. Lewis begged, his apology more pitiful than I'd ever seen. His insincere apology couldn't sway me. I'll never believe a word you say again. With that, I left Alice's hospital room. Later, the divorce was finalized, and both were billed for compensation. I thought they might end up together, But apparently, Lewis was cheating with another woman. Alice, furious, broke up with him impulsively. However, Alice, who had no savings and was now in debt while on maternity leave, couldn't afford to raise the baby. Her family, as expected, refused to help. Relatives even suggested she put the baby in a facility, but Alice insisted on raising the baby herself. Then, unbelievably, Alice came to me. Don't you feel ashamed? Roseanne, this is a once-in-a-lifetime request. Please take care of my child until I'm financially stable. What are you saying? Of course not. Please, you're the only one I can turn to. This child has the blood of the man I once loved. You can love it, right? If it weren't for the baby being there, I might have lashed out and verbally attacked her, but yelling in front of the child would only instill fear in them. I controlled my anger and spoke calmly. There was a time when I truly loved you, but after your betrayal, I feel nothing but hatred. Just knowing you two are the parents fills me with resentment towards this child. Even if I took care of it temporarily, you'll probably find a new man soon enough, and your affection for this child will fade. That's not true. I can't bear the thought of never seeing my child again. Then, instead of relying on acquaintances, seek help from proper institutions. Do you really think there's someone kind enough to take care of a child born from an affair with our best friend's husband? Besides, your reason for not wanting to let go of the child isn't love, is it? What do you mean? You've been telling people at work that you plan to make this child a kid YouTuber to earn money. You even said you'd eventually join in and have fun as a YouTube family. But now it's impossible, right? If people realize this child is the result of an affair, you'll be caught in the social media firestorm. There are people who can trace personal information, and if that happens, it's not just you who will suffer, but this child too. Alice fell silent, her head bowed. What, you're still holding a grudge about me stealing your boyfriends? That's irrelevant now. As for Lewis, he's beyond redemption, and I pity him. My concern is for the child. Being with you will only bring it hardship, so it's better to let it go. And by the way, I've told everyone I know that your child is with my husband. That's cruel. Alice started crying. Cruel? Look who's talking. I continued, undeterred. Anyway, it's impossible for me. With that, I left Alice's presence. Later, Alice placed her child in a facility and returned to work, foregoing her maternity leave to repay her debts. Despite the turmoil and relentless gossip at work, Alice showed remarkable resilience. However, her job alone wasn't enough, so she started taking on additional work on her days off. And, as expected, she already had a new boyfriend. Placing her child in a facility was the right decision. Lewis, having lost his place in the company, resigned and was now repaying his debts through various part-time jobs. It goes without saying that they haven't met since then. I have no interest in his affair with the other woman. In the end, they both worked tirelessly to repay the loan they took out to pay my compensation. It's a satisfying outcome. As for me, with Lewis out of the picture, I've become the next candidate for the company's presidency. My parents apologized to me. We should have chosen you from the beginning, regardless of gender. If only we had seen through that man's lies. We are sorry, they said. I was the one who was completely deceived, yet my parents had done nothing wrong. I felt ashamed for making them think that they were at fault. But now I'm determined to elevate the company's performance even further as its president. Happiness for a woman isn't just about marriage or children. I'll find my own way to happiness and repay my parents' kindness.